Over the last 2 months, I've had the opportunity to work on a lot of different assignments, travel to a lot of different places, take a lot of different photos for publications, for nonprofit work, just for portrait work, whatever. I've kind of been running around a lot. Time has been very, very full and calendars have been kept. And yeah, it's been an experience again. This time of year I end up being busy, but over the time of taking these photos, whether it is, outdoor, indoor, event work, personal work, whatever it is, I have taken a lot of photos with a lot of different cameras. For those of you that know, I just recently made a transition to different types of cameras, different types of sensors, different types of mediums whenever it comes to analog, and the transition has been smooth. But during that time, I've looked back at my images, looked back at the way that I've edited things, or looked back at the way that scans have negatives have turned out, how scans have looked. And one thing is absolutely true, and that is the fact that through everything that I've done, the camera at some point absolutely stopped mattering. Now, when I say this, I know a lot of people, will bring up the, well, does gear matter, gear not matter part of their brain. And let me just tell you, gear absolutely matters. The camera does matter, the lens does matter in respect to the job that you're doing. I'm shooting with, many different things like a, GFX 645 full frame camera, and even something like this, a little point and shoot Nikon Coolpix A APS-C size sensor. I've shot some images on this too, and they've been fantastic. But if I was to use this to shoot a sporting event like a UFL match, I probably wouldn't have as much success as I would with a 1DX Mark II or the XH2S or whatever this thing is called, with a long telephoto lens. It's just not going to be as efficient. I'm not going to be as successful. The whole nine. What I'm talking about is that there is just a point where the images matter more as far as end result than what I took the image on. I'm not saying that you should forego the correct tool for the job, but what I am saying is that whenever it comes to reviewing your work and how it makes you feel, the first thought isn't, I remember what camera and what lens I shot this on. The first thought is always everything that brought you to that point. I started thinking about this whenever I shared a lot of my work with a family member who just was curious. So I started showing them prints, scans, digital files, etc. And I just started talking about the places that I went, whether it's my trip to Chicago. I got to move around a little bit there while we were working on some things and took some nice images of some of my friends. Just of the city, didn't do much exploring, but the little bit of time I did have there, I made sure to have a camera on me. Photos of family and friends and different events that we all got together to go hang out at. The point of the images wasn't, I want to take a camera so it can shine and everyone can see it. The point of the images was I want to document the fun things and the great things about what I'm doing right now. And here's the thing is, as I've gotten more professional and more, professional, and I've gotten, growth and more clientele and everything as the years go on, more responsibilities with companies for commercial work, for freelance work, etc. I have, just of course, little by little, gotten more and more gear that could suffice more and more in a professional setting. It can hold up, it can do prints, it can be used to this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, whenever it comes to the work that really matters to me, I don't give a shit about what camera I shot it on. There's work from almost over a year ago or so, whether it's from Louisville, work in Seattle or Portland, just any of the cool events I've been in Houston, where I can't tell you one-to-one what all my settings were. The lens absolutely had to be, the camera body maybe I could tell you, but even that, whenever I'm looking at those images or thinking about those images, the camera and everything is the last thing that's on my mind. And even now, San Antonio just had its Fiesta, which is a couple week-long celebration literally just for the city. Like, the city celebrates the city. It's fun. There's Edgar's. It's wild, but it's a lot of cool stuff. I went to Battle of the Flowers, which is a parade. My first time going to Fiesta parades. And I just took a camera out there and I just started snapping shots. Whether or not they were going to be good, in focus, whether or not I, was going to have the right seat or the right location for all of the events and everything, I just started going out during this week and taking photos. And a lot of the photos I really like. I absolutely think they're great. I think they're fantastic. And when I show them to people, though, no one asks what camera I took them on. Honestly, I don't even think to explain what camera I took them on. It's kind of just one of those things that, honestly, when people are reviewing your work, if your work's good, that's going to be the very, very last thing they think about. You want someone to be so captivated with the image itself, your composition, your color, your lighting, if you're shooting black and white, that why would the camera need to be a discussion? People may ask, but to a lot of people, their natural instinct isn't to gravitate towards the discussion of what was your gear. Recently, I was also part of a photo walk in Houston, Texas. The Color Coffee Collective actually put on an art gallery with the Houston Art Alliance, and we walked Houston's 3rd Ward, saw a whole bunch of historical stuff. My friend Keith was an amazing, driving force of that as far as being able to be a legitimate tour guide and give some information. We actually had a woman come out and show us a landmark. There's a strip of brick in Houston's 3rd Ward that was actually, it's protected by the state. They tried to build over it, but the builders were stopped because it was an actual brick where slaves were chained and where they were, as I believe, as punishment, and as well as held for auction in Houston's 3rd Ward. And to think about all these buildings and all these things, these churches put up, these commercial properties, etc., that were all put up around this, almost built over this historic part of it. It was just a crazy thing to be a part.
Slaves in Texas did not find out about being free in Texas until obviously Juneteenth.
You're standing on one of the most historical monuments in the 3rd Ward area, and that is a piece of brick where slaves were literally tied down.
Chain the slaves that all the way down there on that brick right there.
It was one of the most iconic moments, and all of my years of living here in Houston, never knew that it even existed.
This is crazy. I like the.
He's hard to play with.
Our people gonna be like by tall people.
You should check out his work. Way bigger than
housing for some of the less fortunate, and so the houses wouldn't.
But being a part of that, the whole event and everything, the images that I took quite a few. I like a lot of the images. Some of them are my favorite as far as environmental portraits. Wide angle portraits, shallow depth of field with the GFX system or with film. And I just gotta say, at the end of the day, I don't even think about shit to do with the camera. Hanging out with friends afterwards, having a barbecue and things like that. The camera is literally the last thing that has ever crossed my mind whenever it comes to reviewing these images, at least of what actually matters. I just find myself looking at the images. I just find myself looking at the people in it, the colors, the sharpness. I mean, all these things that I love, but the camera doesn't, it's not really translating. Even the lens, I'm not thinking about that combination. It doesn't mean a lot to me. I don't look at an image and be like, wow, I shot that on, 35mm film, or wow, I shot that on the XH2. Wow, I shot that on the GFX. That's not the first thing that comes to my mind. I think of the person, I think of the look, I think of the emotion, and I feel like that's the same thing with a lot of people. We have this idea in our head, I feel like, to where we believe the photography community is just dead in the water because all it cares about is, cameras this, gas that, gas this. And I've been, I've also felt that sometimes, but I've started to learn as I've started to cultivate my own camera community, whether it's people in the city of San Antonio, whether it's people, my boy like Ali, Dorian Coleman, whether it's people I've met online. I feel like I just have a really good community now, and I've cultivated it on Threads, on Instagram, to where the gear talk and the gear negativity and the people trying to downsize others based on what they shoot, because, of course, when you're not funny and you don't get a lot of work, the first thing you do to get engagement is you make fun of Nikon. But I have kind of left all of those things behind, thanks to the algorithm and thanks to the personal choices that I've made. And so I kind of don't see the world like that, because honestly, when it comes to the photography community, barely any of the photography community really gives a shit about gas, to the point that they feel like it's ruining everything. You're going to buy gear, you're going to upgrade. I'm of the belief that you should not make a purchase and get into debt whatsoever, especially if you're not making money on that camera. But still, people are going to make buying choices, and they're going to use the internet to justify those because it's a great resource. It's one of the reasons why I think it's ridiculous that people bitch and moan so much about, gear-related content on YouTube. The people that bitch and moan about gear-related content on YouTube and complain that, oh, that's what's wrong with photography. This is all that's being made. No one makes real photography videos. Here's the thing. Photography videos like this don't do well. And it's because of you guys who bitch and moan about gear videos. You only thumbs down, interact with, comment, bitch, share, talk shit about those gear videos, and that drives up the engagement. You're the reason. No one watches gear videos more than a grown-ass adult who hates gear videos. You guys consume them all. It's actually very hilarious. But thank you. You're literally paying my bills monthly on YouTube. But the whole gear acquisition syndrome thing isn't as bad as we think. People are going to upgrade. People are going to have fun. And it's one thing I've started to see. And in that, I've just started to see even more and more and more that people are able to keep their looks. People are able to keep their identities. People are able to keep their the structure of their images across camera brands, but it doesn't ruin photography. Gear is just always going to be a part of it. But the beautiful thing about gear always being a part of it is that there's this essence that the gear eventually stops mattering. I'm on Threads, and I've cultivated a really good timeline where people take photos of their gear. They share about their gear being sold, they swap gear, they sell gear, they're excited about their new gear, and then they share their photos from that gear. And they're always beautiful. They're really, really good. There are so many talented photographers in the world. It just gets me more and more frustrated that so many people think that getting paid for this makes them special. Because honestly, you can get paid for this and still not be the 1000th best photographer in your state. And let's be real about it. I recently was on assignment for San Antonio Express News covering a UFL game. Today we're going to be talking about photography things and photography stuff while I go and work an assignment. So be ready to talk about those things. I used XH2Ss. I used two of them. I had a 200 f2 and a 50-140. I had the GFX on my hip. I was walking around shooting shots. I'm the only one with Fujifilm. There's people there with Canon. There's people there with Nikon. There were people there with Sony. I even saw someone with the Lumix that was shooting video. And with all of it, everyone was there. Everyone was getting paid the exact same. Everyone had the exact same opportunity with these players. Everyone had the exact same opportunities with the game at hand, and everyone came away making images. And at the end of the day, if their editor liked it, if they liked it, if their boss liked it, if the team liked it, the camera didn't matter whatsoever. My images ended up on the San Antonio Express News, and nothing about my camera was posted alongside with the image. All it did was say my name, contributor, San Antonio Express News, and it had the information that I put in there, and that's it. Nothing else. There was no need for anything else, and going forward, whenever I do assignments again, there will still be no need for anything else. I don't need to put out the megapixels. I don't need to put out the lenses and the aperture and the the calculated depth of field if it was in full frame. All of these things are absolutely worthless, and there's 100% no need to even discuss them, because again, at some point, it's just about the image. Is it good? Is it not? And at some point, the camera just really stops mattering. Some of you may not like this. Some of you may hate this. Some of you may be too pussy to say something to me in real life, and so you're gonna say something on your burner account underneath. I thank you. You guys drive my engagement like no one's business. But the biggest thing is, I hope you're going out there and I hope you're creating. I hope you're taking a lot of images. I hope you're actually showing up for yourself whenever it comes to taking care of this photography side of you. I hope you're cultivating all of this inside of you, this creativity, this artistic flow, I hope you're taking care of that and you're watering that plant. It's a big part. Photography, I'm seeing more and more and more, is something that not only can bring people together, but can help people understand exactly what you're going through. So continue to take photos, continue to be a part of this photography culture. And honestly, I think we need to maybe reshape the way that we look at gas, reshape the way that we discuss purchasing gear. I'm going to start doing it myself. I still don't believe you should go into debt, but really reshape the way that we view just the photography landscape of gear videos, gear discussions, and people sharing images of their gear in general. There's nothing wrong with it, nothing bad of it. And honestly, for the fact that a lot of the people that share those images, their photos are really f***ing good, that probably is the most important thing. If your critique is of a way a person acts and not of their actual images, now I'm not saying lewd acts like no Diddy, I'm just saying the way that a person acts in regard to their excitement for photography, their excitement for a camera brand, their excitement for a new lens, their excitement for trying out film, for trying out digital. If that's your problem, is someone's excitement about something, the issue is you. Quit being pussy about everything in your life. Look at the images, enjoy them, and shut up and stay in your lane. No Harrison Butker. With all that being said, take it light, but take it. Have a good one.